Okay, this is the October 2020 Extracurricular Committee meeting. Start with roll call. This is Steve Miller. We'll go around the room.
Julia Olson.
Brad Cooper.
Jennifer Leanne.
Lucky Scott.
Eileen Schmidt.
And Mr. Hurley is with us. Okay, well, why don't we get started with the agenda? I don't have it in front of me until this comes up.
Here you go. MOA, BBA football.
Okay, starting with the MOA of the football coach.
Okay, I just want to make the board aware, and the union DBA does currently have a copy of an MOA from us. There was if you look at our previous contract with DBA and the current contract, there was a position that was omitted, and it has to do with an assistant football coach was discovered, so that kind of started the need for this MOA, so that we are appropriately staffed there. The person who is in that position is currently quote-unquote volunteering in that spot. I do not believe it was the board's intent to eliminate a position, especially the way it was worded, which was another issue I want to go there too. Do notice, and you'll see that assuming I don't want to make any assumptions, but if DBA, I don't think they're going to have any problems with this, and away from our preliminary discussions with them, but assuming there's no issues, you'll notice and we'll put this out to the board once DBA makes their determination whether they'll agree to it. It's either for 27 or 30. If the person ends up being a 9th grade head coach, the head coaches always get more hours. That's consistent with the way the prior agreement with DBA and the big contract was written. But it is unlikely, given our current numbers and in the future, given the numbers at the middle school, at least in the near future, that we will have the numbers for a 9th grade team. Therefore, this person shouldn't, in our view, get more money than the other assistant coaches that would be considered like an assistant football coach, which would be at 27 units. The other thing, and this is minor, is just changing titles. We change because part of this is a little bit messy because we're calling people like 9th grade coaches. They don't always have a 9th grade team. We also call, like if you look at our middle school, it's a cleanup of language. We were calling them 7th grade coach, 8th grade coach. Can create I'll give you an example. Last year we had an issue in regards to supervision. Well, I'm the 7th grade coach. No, you're the assistant coach. In practice, they're the assistant coach. So we changed some of the titles. Again, DBA didn't appear on the surface to have any issues. They have to put by their committee first. And so it could be on not this meeting, obviously, the committee the whole, but it could end up on at the end of the month. And I just wanted to give the extracurricular committee a heads up on there. This is largely bureaucratic in nature, but it's kind of one of those things we need to clean up.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the board? All right. The next item then is sports attendance and security inspection. I guess the attendance basically has been set. I mean, we redid that and voted, so everything has been worked out with the increased attendance indoors and outdoors. I don't know if there's anything there. And the security issue that I wanted to bring up, there was an incident issue at one of the girls' soccer games. And there was, first, I guess I have a question as to what credentials are required to get up onto the crow's nest. We had a person from the visiting team up on the crow's nest, hanging over the railing, yelling the entire game without his mask on. And I know he was asked a couple of times to put his mask on, and he refused. I think he eventually did, but we didn't appear to have anyone there. I think you were running around, so for part of the time there wasn't anyone there that could have had him removed from the facility if he didn't put his mask on.
Right, so to get up there, the gentleman that went up there told me that they were filming we were playing Mifflin that night,
right,
for Governor Mifflin. I took them at their word, which I learned my lesson. So really the only people that will go up there is someone that is approved by, I'll visit with the coach beforehand,
okay,
which is now what we do.
Right.
For both for our home team and for away, because we do have parents from our home team that try to go up there also.
Okay.
So usually for football, it's pretty standard because there's not enough room up there for the two film crews anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the first time we've run into that for Olympic sports.
Yeah,
So,
you've
lesson learned for me.
girls soccer. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think they had a camera up there, like a little one that was just set,
Yeah.
and it was back there, and they were.
Well, everybody's using the same software, that Huddle software,
Mhm.
and what we found is it's so good that all the parents are now using it to film their own kid, to make their own highlight, to send off to colleges.
Okay.
So I just have to be aware of who is actually going up there and who's actually on the approved film crew for
Yeah.
that sport.
Okay. Yeah, and I guess the other is just with the additional security with our mask requirements and some of the challenges that we've had.
We've had some. I got to be honest with you. For the most part, both home and away, parents have been really good. We've had some incidents with both home, some home fans that just don't like to wear it. They'll wear it off their glasses. They'll wear it down. We've had some incidents where we've asked away fans to please put their mask on, and they've given us some lip back. But for the most part, I kind of expect it. For the most part, to be honest with you, everybody's been really good. I think they just want to see their kids play, and they just want their kids out on the field, so they'll do what it takes. I will say that it has, the mask wearing has decreased the amount of overzealous fans in the stands, so that has been a positive thing, I guess.
Yeah, that's one thing that made the incident definitely very obvious up on the
Right,
stands.
right,
without a mask on
right.
the screen.
You can totally tell when someone doesn't have their mask on, and usually you can tell when someone is yelling without their mask on, and security usually goes and looks right away.
Okay.
Tonight there's was a volleyball game, and this will be our first night where we have parents in, and then we have girls soccer going on outside.
Okay.
It'll be good. Unfortunately they only have 2 home games left. But it'll be nice to have some fans in there because it's been very quiet and it's been very sparse, and it's just not the atmosphere you want.
Okay. Well, I guess as far as sports attendance, there was some question about the capacity of the stadium and how many tickets we had. Did we get that resolved?
What was that? I'm sorry.
At the meeting, there was a question on the website. Apparently, our capacity of the stadium is listed at 1930.
Right.
And
Okay.
under 20,000 so that we would have.
Oh, yep. So we're still sticking with, and you all approved that we're still doing 2 tickets per home student for cheer band and football. It allows us to use both. It will be fine as long as we use both sides.
Right.
And then we can also bring the black fence on the outside if people want to stand. So we'll have plenty of room to social distance. And we'll have added security and added game workers to make sure everybody's keeping their masks on. We're doing a ticket distribution policy, so that'll come out later tonight once I get back over in my office
Right.
For the parents. We'll have parents pick up the tickets at the front of the school starting at 6:15 on Friday. That way we don't have too many people in the stadium too early, and that will also give us a chance to remind everyone to keep their mask on and to socially distance when they pick those tickets up.
I think the question also was the fact that there's been a discrepancy in the size of the capacity of the stadium. On the website it indicates 1920, however, our indication is 2200. So I think we were looking for some clarification on what that is, and clarification on the actual capacity, seating capacity of our stadium.
So we know we're 1250 on this side,
Okay.
and then when we measured on that side, it was the additional 1,000.
Okay. That's I guess.
And that's just seating capacity. We didn't do anything else.
No,
in the form of
the reason that
seats.
comes into play is that if it's less than the 2,000, it's 25%. We actually could get 20 or 30 more seats. People
I remember Mr. Hurley was telling me about
Yeah.
that it was weird that the smaller number got me more
Yeah,
seats.
it does. The smaller number gets you more seats. And I think it only comes into play. I had asked about kids, making it open to some seniors as far as tickets, and I know you had talked to balloon spot and they weren't interested in it, but if we had 40 tickets, maybe they would be, or maybe I don't know.
Yeah, when we had a conversation with them and indicated that we were looking at about 20
Right.
per game. They were not interested in trying to figure out how that
Right.
would work. So Ms. Schmidt has indicated that 2250 is our seating capacity, so we would just have to change the website to reflect that.
Okay.
If it's in the season.
Okay.
That's fine. Okay, yeah, I don't know how to prioritize tickets even with the Okay. All right, the next item then is the fall sports update.
Golf finished up their season 14-1. Really excited because Colton Yinzer will be, he didn't medal in districts, but he played well enough to move on to the PIAA championship.
Mm-hmm.
So he will be headed there October 20th. Tennis was 6-7, which is probably one of the best records they've had in a very long time. They put 7 people towards the BCIA championships, and they actually had a doubles team going to day 2, which was awesome. That's the first time that's happened in a long time. Excuse me. Field hockey is 4-2-1. They're at Berks Catholic tonight. Boys soccer is 5-1-1. They'll be at Muhlenberg tomorrow, or actually they'll be at home at Muhlenberg tomorrow. Girls soccer is 6-2 tonight. They have Muhlenberg out there. And then volleyball is probably where they had a really great season last year. They're young and rebuilding this year, so they haven't won a game yet. But he sees good things and I see good things. They get better every time they play. So that's all we continue to ask from them. And then cross country will host their only home meet of the season tomorrow. If you have a chance and you haven't been out to a cross country meet, it's pretty circus-like. It's pretty fun, even in COVID times. So there's a lot of action going on.
Is it like a dual meet or multiple?
Tomorrow it will be Wilson, Hamburg, and Twin Valley. No, Wilson, Ole, and Twin Valley. So there'll be 4 teams here. So we'll run a middle school race, then we'll run the varsity boys and girls race, and then we'll run a JV race.
Any questions or comments?
Oh, football's 2-1, and then they have Conrad Weiser this week.
Is there was a rumor that the season's going to be extended next October?
So up until the end of October is what you need to make playoffs. If you play beyond October, it doesn't count towards those numbers. We have 2 games scheduled in November. If we didn't make playoffs, one is Perk Valley at Perk Valley, and then the rescheduled Conestoga Valley game after that. So I think it takes us into the 2nd week of November if we don't make playoffs.
And then the year?
Most of those games are away.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're saying how many games are we playing?
Conrad Weiser this weekend and Governor Mifflin next weekend, as long as everybody stays the way they're supposed to stay.
Okay. All right, next item on the agenda then is winter sports discussion.
Winter sports. So as far as I can tell, PIAA has not said a word. The Berks has not said a word. District 3 has not said a word. Winter sports are just going to proceed as we expected. Start date is November 17th. I know wrestling will start up in their room and in the weight room this next week. They're going to break up into weight classes and keep their numbers down so that they don't have so many kids until that start date, which I've asked them to do, and then we'll add some extra cleaning into their room. We have 2 positions to fill the 7th and 8th grade position for boys basketball. We have candidates for both of those. And then we also have a 7th grade position to fill for girls basketball, which we have a candidate for that.
Okay.
I think farther down here, because swimming is a winter sport. Pool update, I might as well just jump on that.
Sure.
The pool update, I'm in talks with Pottstown Y, Body Zone, Golds at Exeter. They had a cleaning issue though, so I think we might kind of pass on that one. And then also I contacted Albright today. I thought that one might be a good choice too, in terms of renting pool space for our swim team. we have a number of, like, that swim team has grown. She's got probably pretty close to 25 kids.
Wow.
And that's why I've also added on there, if there could be discussion about adding an assistant coach for her. When you get to those meets, it gets pretty rambunctious. And just having one coach is pretty tough to keep track. So it's a good time. We have some really great competitors on the swim team. So it's a good time to continue that. I got the boot from Watertown on. Yeah, you know what? There's a lot of COVID restrictions that come with pools. And one of them, the Watertown Y was talking to me today, and the Pottstown Y, and it might just be a Y thing, that they can only have one activity in there at a time. So if they have another team in there, like I was like, oh, we can join with another team, that's one activity, they consider that two different activities. So like I said, Pottstown Y has time in the morning, Body Zone has time in the evening, and I'm hoping Albright might be something that's a little bit more, a little bit better on our athletes in terms of not going at 5 a.m. or not going at 7 p.m., which we were doing at Splash too. So hopefully that works out.
What about Alberni? Do they have a pool?
You know what? I did not check with Alberti, but I can put them on the list.
Okay. I did have winter sports still. I guess the only school in Berks County not participating in the fall now is Reading. Are there plans for Reading in the winter, or do we use?
I have not heard what they plan to do in the winter. There's part of a consortium that's going to try to play their fall sports in the spring. I'm not sure if that's going to take off or not. I haven't heard much about it, but they're going to try.
Yeah, I don't know there are many schools left. I know it's Reading, but there were some of the others like Harrisburg and the Allentown School.
Harrisburg's back online.
Right.
But I think a number of the Philadelphia schools. So I'm not sure how they'll do that in the spring with their spring sports also.
Okay. The next item then is cancellation of the contract with NFHS.
So we never got our cameras, and when I called them, it was like a ginormous cluster. So Matt Palmer with Blazer Media has done a really great job. Unfortunately, he's a one-man show though. So we've been able to stream on YouTube for some sports, and we're trying to get everybody on there. Otherwise, we have been able to stream on Facebook, which isn't ideal, especially inside's fine. For volleyball, it's been fine. Outside, it's a little harder because it's harder to see. Once we get ourselves into winter, our huddle camera will be up, and we'll be able to stream with our huddle camera onto Blazer Media and onto YouTube. So we'll just need to come up with something. If we're still in this situation in the spring, we'll just need to come up with something a little bit better out there. I talked to Matt Palmer. He talked to me about learning to run the program. Not quite that technologically sound, but he makes it seem like it's really easy. I don't know if it is. I see you laughing back there. So for the spring, we'll have it ironed out. I just didn't want to waste the money on the cameras when they weren't going to show up until this week, and then it would have been another week to get them in, and we'll only have a week left of the season. And Matt Palmer has done a fantastic, and his students have done a fantastic job.
Yeah, I guess the spring could be a challenge, but I've seen softball tournaments and baseball, people are using GoPros.
Pardon?
Baseball and softball, yeah, like I was just at softball tournaments where they're just putting a GoPro behind home plate, streaming it out.
And stream it that way. Well, you know what? I haven't even investigated Legion Field yet. If we were going to do it from Legion Field, we'd probably do it from center instead of doing it from behind the plate. We'd probably. Oh yeah, yep. I spoke with Colin Halter, has spent a lot of time on Legion Field. I think we're going to be fine for Legion Field for the spring, which would put our JV team back out here where we belong.
All right, and I guess the last item on the agenda is the turf schedule.
The only thing I wanted to talk about was getting that on the books. We know we're going to have to replace the turf this summer, and I'd rather be one of the first people than one of the last people. Usually it flows pretty quickly once they get it started, but I'd like to get it on the books with the company, or at least put that big process out to get that started.
Okay. Yeah, we should definitely get that started. It's been planned and budgeted. So what do we need to do to start the process?
I need to reach out. We probably need to do a bidding process, right?
Yeah, we're gonna have to do an RFP for
Yep.
that, and then get bids for that, so
Yep.
that cost of it is above the threshold for procurement.
Okay. All right. Really covers all the agenda items. Any new business to cover?
So there was one thing on here that we didn't cover, which it was on mine, the Unified Sports
Okay.
program for track and field. I think Shelley might have already alerted you guys that we got funding from the Special Olympics to start Unified Track, which is awesome. But they did send me an MOU to sign with them, which I wanted to bring up. They asked that the board sign that. It's really it's going to be awesome. They pretty much provide all the funding with uniforms, the coaching salary, everything besides just the transportation. And in athletics, we can pick that up. That's not going to be a problem. It's going to be a great program.
Yeah, who's involved in the program? Just the Boone community?
From our end,
Yeah.
Shelley and then Tracy Huddleston.
Okay.
I'm trying to think who else was on there. Aaron Spores was on there in our last discussion. So yeah, it's pretty exciting.
Okay. Anything else anyone wants to bring up?
If I may, I just wanted to share that both the fitness centers have been equipment is in there. Students have been using both the facilities, and I thank the board again for the commitment to that. Because, just to see the expressions our students face when they saw that, the ability to get in there and use that facility, they're really excited. Thank you.
I did have one other question or concern to bring up. I know our clubs are virtual right now, but at some point we're going to run into jazz band, we're going to run into select choir, and we're going to run into indoor percussion. It sounds like jazz band and indoor percussion will still compete, but they will compete virtually. Usually select choir, if I'm right, is just holiday. They do a lot of holiday concerts. Maybe you can.
Yeah, they do events. Normally, they do our holiday concerts and stuff like that, but then they also do different things out in the community that Mrs. Bennett, Green Lights Bud. I don't know how much of that's happening.
Right.
I don't really see, the senior center inviting a bunch of kids to like sing at them anytime soon indoors anyway. And then they do at least one. They do one event out in Warriors to raise as a fundraiser, but that's outside as well.
What about the Birdsboro event? It's around the holiday time.
Correct, but I don't know if that's happening. I don't know if that is going to be canceled, but that is one of those community invite, and that's an outdoor event, and so they might be able to do that. But that would just be the choir, right?
Right. So the question is, since our other clubs are virtual, are we okay to? I consider them part of our sports. In a winter sport, right? A winter club. Are we okay for them to proceed just like wrestling does, just like basketballs do, to practice for their competitions?
Yeah, well, you guys are free to disagree with me. Like when it comes to jazz band, that's a really small number of kids. That's less than 20 kids. They've been using the bell covers over the brass instruments. They might just have to be careful about where they practice. The room isn't too small, I guess.
Okay.
And indoor percussion, there is no expletive component. There's nobody who blows into an instrument. And there's no singing, you know. And so that's just like a sport,
Right.
you know, playing drums or doing dance routine, you know. So to me, that seems analogous to a sport. Did you say that indoor drumline are going to be competing, or is it just all virtual?
She said they were going to compete virtually,
All right.
which is similar to what I think, to what they're doing this year with marching band, and then also similar to what like cheer is doing. It sounds like their competitions, when they do announce them, they'll be virtual.
So I think your assessment that it's
Should be the same.
yeah, that you know, I think the indoor percussion and drum line is very similar to, you know, how you've been dealing with indoor sports. And you know, while the kids that are playing brass and woodwind instruments, you know, they're blowing into them, you know, that they do have the bell covers, and there's a small number of kids involved. It's not like it's 50 kids.
Right.
Okay.
How many kids are usually in select choir? Do you even know? Do you know?
I do not know.
I'm thinking I've seen 50, but that might not be right.
There used to be more in actually middle school than
Yes.
high school.
Oh, yes. Yeah, and but Mrs. Ben keeps that number. You know, it's very competitive. So, yeah. Yeah, they're going to have to deal with it. We're going to have to figure that out, because right now when they sing, they go outside. That's why they're not going to be able to keep doing that.
Right.
So, all right.
Wear jackets. Wear jackets.
Yeah, right.
Okay. Anything else? All right. Not then. That concludes the extracurricular committee meeting. Thank you.